What is up, everybody? QUills here with you on this Thursday night. Time for another edition of the QUills show, and um, hopefully the air conditioning is not too loud tonight. Got a lot to talk about here on this Thursday. You can see everything there on the bottom of the screen. There, we have Dan Hurley talking to the Levitard show today. They had a shortened show on the Levitard show today because um, got to get the arc out for that down there. Thoughts on the Dallas Boston game last night? I didn't see the whole game. I saw enough to make a comment on one thing. Big 12 got news about that. Um, you know, all that fun stuff here. And also, we have a name for the Utah hockey team. I'll tell you what it is, and unfortunately, it's not my pick, the Storm and Mormons. But hope everybody's doing well out there. I am ready for a weekend, and this week I get a 3-day weekend because I couldn't get the day off I really wanted this week, but that's okay. They gave me a blessing in disguise at work, and it's a sprint to the weekend. I was off yesterday, got to go over to the Pennypack Music Festival at Constadters, the Crystal Ship, which is a Doors tribute band. Guy sounded like Jim Morrison. Great job by him and his band there last night. So everybody, we are live on YouTube, on Twitch, and on X. We are going to be doing some tinkering this weekend since I have time with a 3-day weekend. So you may see some minor changes here. Now, maybe be some changes that you guys don't even recognize. But, like this stuff is going to stay on the bottom. That stuff's going to stay because I like having the date on there. The scroll is what I want, and everything like that. So, but, just little things that I want to do just to dress this up a little bit more as we get closer to adding Wednesdays into 4 days and all that. So we'll get to that. I'll be working on that this weekend. Knock on wood, it'll be great. It will be something I get done. But me with my ADD, ADHD, LMNOP, guarantee you nothing gets done. But it's in my mental Rolodex of things I want to get done. So anyways, let's get to it here. And Dan Levitard, they had a skeleton crew in studio because since he's taken over his show, he has embraced working from home. Now, I admit I started watching it maybe a month or two ago, only because I have a Samsung TV, so I can watch the DraftKings network on my TV while I work. My TV is like 5 feet away from where I sit while I work. And like I tell you, with Phillies games, with Eagles games, when that comes back around, whatever sporting event it is, maybe even horse racing. I mean, I did that with the Belmont again this past weekend. You really don't know. I really miss a lot of the interaction of the play-by-play guy, the color analyst, because it is what it is. But I heard some of the interview, but I didn't get time between when I got done work and when I started the show here tonight. Well, also doing the final preps, because I do have a new PC here. That's why I'm back here in this spot here. Still got some things I want to work on with the setup and everything. So, but that's minor compared to what I have planned for the coming week. I mean, the main piece is here now, so that's good. So, anyways, Dan Hurley said today on the Levitard show that uh, the whole process was not a leverage play. His decision to reject the offer was not a leverage play, which was 6 years, 70 million by the um, LA Lakers. But it wasn't a leverage play because he had already agreed to terms of a new contract with UConn. Well, if you signed a new deal, when I read that first paragraph when I was looking at this earlier today, I'm like, well, if you signed a 6 or 7, if you signed a new deal with UConn, which is more out of winning a national championship 2 years in a row, and a reward for winning, why are you going through the process for other than going through the process of going through an NBA type interview? And I think we will get that answer later in this segment here. But I mean, I wish I saw the whole interview. Unfortunately, the timing of it with my breaks and everything sucked. But I'm going to try to watch it later tonight or maybe tomorrow when I'm done work. I do follow the Dan Leptard show on YouTube, so if I want to find that interview, I'm sure it's on there because it was an exclusive interview. But um, but um, Hurley did say that coaching the Lakers for an 8-figure sum or returning to chase a third consecutive national title at UConn was a difficult decision. And I think when you create these memories, it's truthful. But I want to watch it again so I can see body language because just the way I was seeing these videos, it was like it wasn't like me talking to you right now where I'm looking towards the camera right here. I may occasionally look down. That's because I got everything highlighted here. But I need to see that. I need to see his body language because it just didn't seem like he was really looking into the camera that much. But I need to rewatch it so I can actually hear tone, see the body language, try to piece 2 and 2 together. But I'll tell you what, I don't know. But I'm not, for those that are Connecticut alums, congratulations, your coach stayed. And like I suggested a couple of times, maybe he did it for the experience of going through the interview process because he never coached in the NBA. I don't even know if he really played much in the NBA. He might have been drafted. I don't know. I didn't look it up, nor do I care to look it up right now. But Hurley said on the Levitard show that one of the worst takes I've heard is that this was a leverage play to improve my situation at UConn. I don't need leverage here. We've won back-to-back national championships. This was never a leverage situation for me. Okay. I've had a contract here in place for a couple of weeks. Okay, well, why are you still doing that? Why are you still going to that interview? If you just, was the contract hush hush so you can go through that process anyway? I don't know. But I had a contract in place for a couple of weeks, and the final part in terms of salary has been done for a while. There are some other parts like NIL and staff salary and some different things that I want adjusted. I'm not comfortable with. But the sense of the idea that some conspiracy to get me a sweeter deal at UConn it's lazy. And I never thought it was a ploy between UConn and the Lakers. I mean, call me naive. I thought it as, hey, Lakers want to kick the tires. He politely answers their request and goes through the process, like I told you about job experiences that I've had. You know, sometimes it's better just to go through the process, whether A, you get rejected, or B, you're doing the rejecting, or C, you agree to a contract. Either way, call me naive, but I personally think it was just, hey, let's go through this process, let's see what they offer. And maybe Hurley has an understanding with the UConn athletic department that, okay, we'll allow you this opportunity to talk to somebody or talk to the NBA. Because, like I said the other night, the Lakers' job doesn't come up that often. Well, it has been a little bit too much lately. And I think we can look at the guy in wearing number 23, because it just seems like whenever he's in a team, coaches get fired time after time, no matter how good they are. Oh, I don't like this guy, even though he may not admit it. We know it, but Hurley the Lakers probably could have made him an offer that he could not have refused, but the deal he had in place at Wisconsin, or at UConn, Wisconsin, where the hell did I get that from? Which the school has not announced yet, will make him the highest paid coach in America. He currently has a 6-year, $32 million deal with UConn, and Bill Self is currently the highest paid coach at $9.6 million a year. So he's going to get paid, and I would say that back-to-back national championships, which is rare and unto itself, and just the total annihilation that his teams have done for 12 straight games over those 2 playoff runs, you got to think that he's worth the money. This isn't a Jim Calhoun thing. When the team wasn't playing as well, that old sound drop. Why don't you come back and see whatever he said? But now, Adrian Wojnarowski, aka Woj, he reported last week Lakers had decided to focus their search on Hurley over several other candidates. Hurley flew to LA over the weekend to meet with Rob Pelinka and G. Buzz. You say he did not speak directly to LeBron James before he made his choice. And, I don't think, even though I think LeBron hasn't decided his option yet, has he? I don't think he has. In a way, I would kind of talk to LeBron and say, I'm going to be coaching next year. What do you think? Are you coming back? Blah, blah, blah. Are you really serious about playing on a team with your son? Does playing with your son mean playing in the G League or over in Europe or Egypt, Bumble F Egypt? How serious are you? Because, I don't know the Lakers draft pick situation off the top of my head. Maybe they have a second round pick. They may not have. They might have to trade for a second round pick. Or they may just sign him to a free agent contract, a rookie free agent deal. and he goes through the whole summer league process and see if he does anything. But personally, Ronnie should have waited another year. I mean, with the cardiac arrest that he had, the whole season was a wash. Nothing went as planned. You know. But I know the urgency because his dad's going to be retiring soon. But Hurley said he had an agonizing weekend wrestling with his options. Um, he said it was gut wrenching Sunday night going into Monday, where I kind of had a deadline in mind. I was torn and did not really know what I was going to do until the end, until I went to bed. Hurley also said Talipa was probably a number. He didn't say what the number was. To leave a place at any moment in your life, to say that it's not a motivating factor, the finances to leave is definitely a thing. To stay at a place, I don't think it is ever going to be a thing. To stay somewhere like UConn, it would never have been a financial thing. And he has family on the East Coast. Some of the things that they mention on here, his father can go to 10 games a year on campus at UConn. It's more than just going for money. It's about his family, it's his friends, it's the East Coast, it's his wife. There's so many different things here, and sometimes you have to realize that I really got it good here. But if I go to LA, I may totally crap the bed. And you can go back to another team, but go to another college, but it's definitely not going to be UConn. You may get another Power 5 school, well, Power 6 in college basketball if you add the Big East, but you get the idea. But he's going to try to do something that hasn't been done since the 1970s, and that's win a third national championship in a row. It's crazy that other than UCLA, nobody's done it. Now, it may be somewhat easier because if you think about it, it's about the fact that you got NIL and sometimes money talks. The saying, money talks, BS walks. Maybe depending on NIL, hey, we'll give you X amount of dollars to come here. But he's going to be at UConn for a while, and I think the only way he would leave, I would think, whether it's next week, next year, 5 years from now. But remember, he's 52 years old, I believe. So, he probably has about 10, 15 more years of coaching in him, unless he wants to go into his 70s. I don't think he would go to a team like Orlando or New Orleans or like small market teams which don't really have a history or a legacy. Whereas you have a team like the Lakers that have a legacy, that have won 16 or 17 titles. Even if I have a great thing like that, I'm kicking the tires. They can kick my tires. We'll see what happens with this. The only other team that I really see that he can do this, and I am definitely not starting any rumors here, because the only other team that has a legacy is the Celtics, and maybe that comes up in 5 years, and it's also there's an advantage of being on the East Coast. I said it on Tuesday night. If I see him going anywhere in the NBA right now, even if it is 5 years down the road, I see him going to Boston. I don't see him coming to Philly in a couple of years. I don't see him going anywhere else. I don't. Maybe Chicago because they won 6 titles, but that's all Jordan. But I really don't see any other team that he would really go to, because I think it's about legacies and continuing a legacy, create your own legacy within a franchise that has a major legacy like that. I don't see him starting from scratch because UConn had a legacy of winning before he got there, and he brought it back. So, but that's me. I may be wrong. That's fine. That's a great thing about these sessions that I have, these shows, because you can join me in the chat. We do have chats on YouTube and Twitch. I have to figure out the X stuff, the Twitter stuff. So those that are watching on on X, we will definitely. I'm definitely going to look into that over the next couple of days because, be nice to have 3 different sets of chat boxes firing all over the place, and I can actually interact with you guys, because that's what this is all about. It's about having fun with you guys out there. Who cares what I'm thinking? Let's think through everything together. So, and I did say welcome to everyone here. I said that on YouTube, and it went to Twitch as well. So we'll work on that. We will work on that. And for some reason, it also tells me that it's Monday's show, but I can actually fix that, I think. Hold on. I have two. I go double barreled here with my computers when I'm on this computer. Whoops. Okay. So I think we're all set now. So it's now fixed to Thursday show. I don't even care that Thursday spelled wrong, truthfully. It's close enough. But now one team that was close but could not overtake their opponent last night was the Dallas Mavericks. And they're probably done tomorrow night. Congrats to the Boston Celtics winning Title 18. And I know what you're saying. Joe, it's only 3-0. But there have been 156 opportunities before this to come back from a 3-0 deficit. 0 times it has happened. Now, it's only happened once in baseball. It's happened a few times in hockey. But, it's a grind. And we got to see that in Philadelphia back in 2010, I think it was, when they came back from 3-0 on the Boston Bruins. But Dallas, the one thing is, Luka has to realize that in some ways he's not going to get every call. And he had 4 fouls in the fourth quarter to help him foul out with 4 minutes left in the game. And I'll tell you what, you cannot, if you're a superstar player, well, truthfully, any player, you can't foul out. But if you're a superstar player like Luka Doncic, You cannot foul out of a finals game. Plain and simple. End of story. You cannot do that. And he did that. And it just seemed like to me, it just seemed like any chances that they had got sucked away. Just when you thought you have a chance, you made that huge run, and boom, that happened. Now, charge or block, I wasn't paying complete attention, but and I missed the first half as well. So, um, but you have to realize you really have to play smarter in that situation because you made a huge run. But sometimes when you make that huge run, you know, you 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 stop running. And Bank, welcome in. Hope you're having a good night out there. But I mean, give the Celtics credit. The Celtics have been the top team all year. Um, they had the pedal to the metal since game one. And, you know, you just can't, if you're Dallas, you're playing a much better team. Granted, uh, thank you, Bank. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good today. One day to the weekend, got a 3-day weekend coming up. Um, Now, it's the first time he fouled out in 48 career playoff games. Now, at least this isn't something that is a habit. Like, for example, Bryce Harper of the Phillies, he's gotten ejected from about 15, 17 games in his career. Now, I can understand maybe a game here, a game there, but it's still way too much. But in terms of Luka here, he said the team couldn't play physical when asked about the officiating. I don't know. I don't want to say nothing. And you got to be careful with what you're saying because of the fact that you say something that disparages the officials. You got to notice that you're getting money taken from your check, or you got to send a check into the NBA. But you just can't. You just can't foul out, especially in that situation. I mean, if you're 2-0, you don't want. I mean, if you were up 2-0 at home, still don't want to do it, but you have a little bit of wiggle room, even though you don't want to be. If you were up 2-0, thinking, all right, we can't let them back in this series. Boston almost let them back into the series because Dallas made that huge run. But like a lot of times, I'll even compare horse racing here. Sometimes that horse makes that huge run on the outside, but the thing is, do they sustain it to the finish? More likely than not, no. And that's an example here. They were down, they came back. It was just that they couldn't get the job done. And and he's playing injured. Luke is playing injured. He's got the thoracic bruise, thoracic contusion from game one. He's been playing on a sprained right knee most of the season. I mean, just the fact that he's out there playing with all the bang, with how much he's banged up, it's almost hockey like, and we do have hockey action in Edmonton, and congrats to the Florida Panthers. They did make it to Edmonton. They had I think they were delayed over 4 hours for their flight because of all the rains that are going on down there. And I had a joke that I said last night. I forget what it was. But it's like Noah's Ark there. I mean, just get the just get the arc out. Everybody line up 2x2, get onto the boat. But I mean, Jason Kidd said that Doncic definitely has a bullseye on his chest. He's got to be able to guard and understand that we're there to protect him and help him if he does get beat. Again, he's carrying the load offensively. They're putting him in every pick and roll and ISO. He's got to be able to play a game where he can rest on offense and let others carry the load. And Kyrie had 35 points in a game, but I think when you're down 2-0 like this, in my opinion, and this is just me saying, maybe he knows that it's an uphill grind, even if it was game one of the series. You know, the pressure gets a little bit tighter with each game because, oh, now we're down 1-0. Oh, now we're down 2-0. Oh, we're going home, but we have to find a way to win. Well, now they have to win because if they don't win, Boston goes home with the trophy and has a parade. Dallas gets a pat on the back and welcome back and come back in October. But you know, it's just that he has to play a little bit smarter, and maybe they need one more superstar on the team because we may be getting out of that era here with the Celtics, but you know, you usually need 3 superstars to win titles, and the Sixers only had 2, but you know, one of the superstars was hurt most of the second half of the year. You know, it. I mean, if these were 1 or 2 point losses or 3 point losses, I'd say maybe Dallas has a chance, but nah, it just seems like it's either going to be a Detroit, either a Boston blowout tomorrow night, or Dallas wins a very close game to force a game 5 just so that they can get blown out in Dallas. Now, the one thing I will say to Dallas is, you know, you experienced firsthand last year when you almost pulled off the impossible and almost won in 7 games against Miami. I mean, if I were talking to these guys, no matter what my position is with the Celtics, I would say, hey, listen, do not play as if, oh, let's go back to Boston and win it there. No, get it over with as soon as possible. Get the trophy, go home, have your parade, celebrate. If you lose a close game, okay, I can understand that. And then you have the gentleman's sweep. Gentleman's sleep. My mind's all screwed up tonight. But you know, you can't just say, oh, we'll just get them on Monday night. Well, you don't want to do that because all of a sudden, if it's 3-1, now Dallas wins again, then it's 3-2, and they got to go back to Dallas, and guess what? That Dallas crowd is going to be even louder. But I would think that the Dallas fans are going to be loud, but if Boston gets a big lead early, kind of like the same way Dallas did to Minnesota in Game 5 of their Western Conference Final, you know, it's going to be, it could potentially be a 40-point blowout. It really could. But the one thing I hope for is it's not a major blowout. And if Boston loses, I want them to lose a tight game, like a last second shot that puts Dallas down 3-1. You know, I don't want to see Dallas winning by 20 or 25, because if you see it by 20 or 25, you will know right then and there, screw it, let's win at home. Then you start toying around with things. And I think with last year, with them almost pulling off that miracle of coming back from 3-0, I think that they know what that is like, having to go from 3-0 to 3-3. Don't let Dallas involved there, but Dallas may have shot their load in that Western Conference Final. The experience of Boston, the with how deep they are and everything like that, you can't really, you just be proud of the season you had, but be ready for next year. But you still have one more game here at least, and if Dallas can do it and get it to 3-1, who knows? But you can't get to 3-3 without getting to 3-1 first. But the problem is when you're trying to go 3-1, it may end up being a sweep. And Boston's been the best team in the league all year, no doubt about it. And they're only 48 minutes away from title number 18. So Luka just can't take that final foul to get disqualified from the game. So, but just to give you guys an update here, the Phillies are getting trounced by Boston tonight, 9-3, I think it was. They're in a commercial right now on my screen. Right now, it is the Panthers up 2-1 on Edmonton. And I do want to say one thing. And if you follow me on X, the one thing I criticize is the patriotism in this country. And it's not a political thing tonight, but it's just like people screaming, like Baltimore screaming "O's" when Osei does that Star Spangled Banner. But you got home of the Chiefs in Kansas City. The Panthers yell red and they say night. They scream a couple of things. Vegas screams something as well. You don't have anything like that in Edmonton. And the one thing is, I said to you guys during the Tuesday night, probably, I think, if I was a true American, really proud of my country, like so many people say they are when they're really not. I mean, they'll wear their red, white, and blue on Memorial Day and the 4th of July, but that blazoned U.S. flag design shirt, I wear this I'm not wearing this just on the 4th of July. I wear it on a random Thursday. A lot of people, they'll just say, you know what? I'm American today. America. I'm just, if you watch that anthem tonight, and I purposely tweeted on there, I purposely posted Edmonton's fans embarrassing America with their patriotism singing the anthem ... loudly. I love it. The thing is, they go through that first part of "O Canada," and then he grabs his mic. I'm going to use my speaker here, my Bluetooth speaker that I use when I listen to podcasts while I'm not streaming or working. And then he goes like this, and then the crowd sings along the rest of the way. That's something you will never see in America. You will never see fans singing like that at a major sporting event like a Stanley Cup final. And kudos to Edmonton for having pride in your country. Even though I'm sure politically, they're probably as divided left and right and upside down and whatever, you know. But, I mean, I'm guilty of it, but it's just that, do you really want to be the guy that's singing as loud and as off key as I do when nobody else is singing? Now, I know the hypocrite thing comes out, but it's not just me. It'd be 40,000 others at Citizens Bank Park. But you got to realize that, you know, the Chicago Blackhawks have their thing, and I'm okay with that. But it's like stupid stuff like screaming red with the Panthers or O's with the Orioles, or and let me tell you, if you're not ready for it, it scares the living shit out of you. And I think it was when I went to the Vegas Golden Knight games in February when I hung around for a couple extra days. It scares the shit out of you when you're not ready for it. And then it's like, oh yeah, that's right. Even though I don't remember seeing an anthem from Vegas before that game. I probably didn't see the beginning of the games of last year's Stanley Cup final. But I just think if you're going to if you are going to say that you have pride in your country, what Edmonton did is pride in their country. What we do isn't, but whatever. So, since I was talking hockey there, unplanned, and the one thing is, if you're watching the show, and if you're watching live or you're watching after the fact, that scroll, I always put it as planned for tonight because there's probably going to be some things I don't get to that I want to get to, but if I do, then that's what I want to do. So, like I talked about the Navs, we'll get to the Utah team name, so we'll segue into further hockey. The Utah hockey team has a name for next year. They are going to be the Utah Hockey Club, which I have zero problems with. Maybe it's because I dabble in a little bit of soccer watching, not that much. I will be this weekend, even though I think Lionel Messi won't be in the lineup for Miami when they take on the Philadelphia Union this weekend. But, you have Orlando City FC, which stands for Football Club. You have Nashville SC, Soccer Club. And you have it all over the world with FC, SC, Football Club, Soccer Club. Montreal is CF, Club de Football, or whatever, however you pronounce it in Francais. But I thought when the Commanders went from the Redskins to the football team, I actually liked that they were the football team because it had the potential of breaking the mold when it came to naming your teams, because of the fact that you have an opportunity to do something different. And and also I said it last week when we were mentioning the nicknames and stuff. I just think it's a good thing to do that because guess what? You don't have to worry about trademark and copyright infringements and all that stuff. And like for example, there was that one team in Cleveland last year where or it was with the Guardians name because Cleveland Guardians was used by a roller derby team. So, um, but yeah, I mean, you don't have to worry about copyright infringement, trademarks. You don't have to worry about that. I mean, you can trademark Utah Hockey Club, but if I want to have an expansion franchise and we have it in North Pole, Alaska, we're the North Pole Hockey Club or hockey team. It's really not infringing on Utah, even though I think it's more of a 1 year thing with them. Maddie, welcome in. Hope you're having a good night out there. Um, but with the Utah team, as I'm fixing something here on the other computer here. Mute that just in case. There we go. Anyways, this is directly from the Bleacher Brothers site, the group that I'm with. It'll be the Arizona Coyotes will be the Utah Hockey Club for the first season, and probably you're getting to the point now where it's the middle of June. You got to get uniforms ready. You got to do all that stuff. So I imagine that plays a part in it. Now, the franchise revealed its new look and drawings of its official uniforms for its first season in Utah in a series of social media posts Thursday. The team colors are identified as rock black, salt white, and mountain blue. Utah Hockey Club is not the team's permanent name, but it's one of the 6 final options under consideration. Fan voting is open until June 20th, with the other 5 options being the Blizzard, the Venom, the Yeti, the Outlaws, and the Mammoth. Let me see if I can. I did see. I thought this. Let me see something here. And that's from Field Level Media, who provided that story to us at Bleacher Brothers. For whatever reason, it is not showing that. So, let me see here. Let me go to the NHL thing real quick. And let me share my screen here, and if I lose you, Maddie was watching TNA, but the last match was getting stale, so I hopped on here to show Joe some love, and I do appreciate that. Hopefully, I don't go stale either. Yeah, I do like to crack a joke every now and then, but let me share my screen here. Hopefully, I don't lose you. Okay, so here we go. So those are the logos. And like they said, it's a temporary thing. Okay, no problem. But personally, I would have no issues whatsoever if they made that permanent, because I like the idea of breaking the mold with locality nickname. And it's been locality and nickname since the beginning of baseball in 1871. Now, granted, between 1871 and 1900, when it came to baseball, most of it was because it was the Cincinnati Redlegs. And why were they called the Redlegs in the very beginning? Because they had red socks on. Some way of differentiating the Philadelphia team from the Cincinnati team or from the New York team. Then after a while, it got to where, okay, what nickname do we want? Like, for example, the first Philadelphia NL team was the Philadelphia Quakers. Then it became the Phillies in the late, in the 1890s. So, but I will say this. I would not mind them going to the Utah Hockey Club. Now, granted, they missed an opportunity, in my opinion, of being the Storm and Mormons. And I hope I did not delete that. Um, I'm really hoping that I can, if not, I'm going to have to create a new AI. Because this logo here, which I'm going to show in a second, because I don't know if Maddie's seen this before. I know Bank Boy has. That's all from AI. That's all AI. I just said create the Joe Quill Show logo, microphone, colors, boom. That's what happened. So, uh, but it was just a random thing, and it was all part of my brand change from the Philly Guy Speaks, because truthfully, it was getting to the point where everybody says, "Oh, he talks Philly sports." Utah's not Philly sports, but and Bank Boy is saying that it's the best logo of all the internet. I tend to disagree, but you know, I'm happy with it, and it's something that I can use where it's original, and I don't have to worry about copyright infringements or anything like that. You know, you can't. From what I understand, you can't. I think from what I heard on a podcast, you can't be, you can't infringe on copyrights on an AI created thing, but don't quote me on that. I think that's how it was, but yeah, that was a thing that I created on my own through AI. Somebody also liked it that sent me a text a week or two ago, and I never responded. Um, it wasn't anything. It wasn't done on purpose, but it's like, it all part of the drama that they have in here. Um, but Utah will be, you know, maybe they use whatever. I mean, maybe the color scheme is a setup for one of those other five names if they don't go with the Utah Hockey Club. But I like the name, but I'm in the minority. But now, University of Utah, as we're still in Utah, but we're kind of morphing away, trying to seg into something different, trying to make it sound interesting. Utah, Colorado, Arizona, they all went to the Big 12. They won that flyover category. But Maddie's from Arizona, and he will never support the Utah whatever. Okay, I can understand that. And also, I saw today. I read the article briefly. I didn't print it out so I could mention it, but apparently, the plot of land that the owner wants to build his arena for his reincarnation of the Arizona Coyotes. Apparently, there's three other people or groups that want that land, so he may not get that land. So, but we'll see what happens. I think it's like next week or something, and it's crazy how we're almost halfway through the year already. It just seems like yesterday I was outside in the snow saying, "What the hell is this stuff?" Well, I said something worse, but you get the idea. But because we hadn't had measurable snow here in 2 years until that snow in January, I think it was. But going back to Utah, where they get a lot of snow, At least they're supposed to. Um, they're going to the Big 12, and the Big 12 Conference is exploring selling its naming rights to a title sponsor. Now, that has the potential revenue of bringing hundreds of millions of dollars over the course of the deal. You know, I just don't see this happening. But you know, the Big 12 is a little bit behind in revenues compared to the Big 10 and the SEC, so they got to do whatever they can. Now, they distributed $470 million to its member schools in overall distribution last year, and that number will project higher with the new media deal that comes to fruition in 25-26. But, of course, why is the Big 12 doing this? To find new revenue streams. Now, this could be millions of dollars more to other schools, but you know, but there is a clear desire to boost revenues in the Big 12 in the near future. I don't know. I mean, tradition has gone in the toilet in college sports. Some people say NIL. Even though I understand, kids can't go even get a part-time job. They barely have time to do homework. I understand that. And trust me, when I was finishing up my master's degree, one kid compared to me at that time, and still is now, he was in his final year as a basketball player. So, and I'm not saying about the amateur sports here, and it's not amateur sports, I agree. It probably was never amateur sports in the last 40, 50 years, but, instead of $100 handshake, it's now recorded as $100, for example. Now, granted, it's a lot more than $100. But the one thing I would say is, even though I'm like, okay, they deserve to get paid, but the only thing is, John Q. Public, when they go to school, they have to get student loans. They're paying out the wazoo for 10, 20 years, depending on their plan. And, they might have to change the plans of their payment plans with the loan company or whatever. And for the most part, if you got a full scholarship, you got nothing to worry about. I mean, even if you blow out a knee and you never play college sports again, the one thing I would have argued was, they're still getting paid, but they're getting paid in free tuition. They're getting paid for books. They're paying for room and board. They're paying for this. They're paying for that. Now, they were getting money, but it was more hush-hush. Now with NIL, the intent was get the guys some money, but now it's, okay, well, what does it take for you to go from trying to think of all right, what does it take for you to go from Middle Tennessee State to USC, because you're a damn good wide receiver. We need you on our team. We want you on our team. What is it going to take? That's what it's turned into. At the very beginning, it was, is that the, like, for example, because I'm a horse racing guy, and I write my articles daily, and once again, my horse lost. I cannot get a winner right now on my articles, but I was watching the FS2 feed, the Naira show, whatever. The name's escaping me. Irrelevant. The name's irrelevant, but I'm watching a commercial, and the University of the University of Kentucky quarterback is talking about the breeding sales at Keeneland Racecourse. Well, obviously he had an NIL with Kentucky, with Keeneland, but you know, I mean, but the only thing is now it's like, well, here's the proof right here of what we gave each player, whatever. But it's turning everything in more of haves and have-nots. But um, but they're going to have more money coming in if they do agree to this naming rights deal. And I guess this is going to be the new thing in college sports. We had that period. Well, we still do, where you know, Wawa buys the naming rights of Villanova Stadium. When, let's say they build a new football stadium, they're not, so don't. Wawa wants to be the name the name on the school, on the naming rights on the stadium. Okay, well, you're now known as Wawa Stadium or Wawa Field or whatever they want to call it. And they give Villanova 100 million for 10 years, let's say. And I know the numbers are not making sense, but you get the idea. That's what's going to happen here, because it's now going to be the, Berkshire Hathaway conference. Now, I only say that because Warren Buffett's still alive. But it's going to go that way. It's going to go that way with all the other concerts. And and the Arizona Bowl is now the Arizona Bowl by Snoop Dogg. And I did see last night. I didn't save it like a dope that I was. They did announce the schedule for the bowl season. And I think Gronk is still doing the LA Bowl. I'm not sure. But yeah, that was definitely something that came up this year. Snoop Dogg. And I did hear about that a few weeks ago. As long as he doesn't have everybody high. But the way the bowl games are now, if you're not in the college football playoff, everybody opts out, and it just sucks. If it's not a college football playoff, I'm not going to be betting on those bowl games. Or maybe I just play the underdogs on the money line each game just to see if I can make some money, because of the fact that it's which teams' backups do better in a bowl game, which the bowl games don't mean squat anymore. And you do have a couple of games that mean something, but other than two mid-major small D1 schools playing in the Bahamas Bowl on January 4th next year, nobody's really going to care. Maybe because the game's in the Bahamas, maybe they prevent some opt-outs, because hey, I get to take a trip to the Bahamas right after the New Year, and it's cold up here in east, west, north, south Michigan and southeast Ohio State. I'm making stuff up, but you get the idea. Other than that, who wants to freeze their ass off at Yankee Stadium or the Wasabi Bowl at Fenway Park? Not me. Not as a fan, not as a player. But unless you're at Boston College and you got to play in that game right in your backyard. But hopefully the names stay intact. But it looks like Big 12 is looking for a new revenue stream in naming rights for their conference. So we'll see what happens with that as well. Do you guys remember? Do you guys remember Bernie Kosar getting fired by the Cleveland Browns a couple years ago. He was the color commentator for the radio broadcast. Well, he now has a lawsuit against media company Big Play LLC. The co-owner Kendall Miles has Kendall Miles as a defendant because he made a ceremonial bet on New Year's Day. Now, the one thing is, if you're in the NFL, there's strict rules with betting with the NFL, and I mean, with the way this lawsuit is, I'm going to get to the two different points that he makes here. You know, I don't think he did enough of one, but he has a case against the other. But he's suing the media company. He alleges forced him to make a ceremonial bet that lost him his job on the team's pregame show last year, according to court documents. Now, if the company did force him into that, then I can understand that there'd be problems, but you would figure, because Ohio was a little bit behind the other states when it came to sportsbook wagering. Now, we're not talking about New Jersey, Delaware, Nevada, who always had it. Delaware had parlays up until a couple of years ago when they opened up their sports book. But there have been some states that have been lagging behind because, like, for example, Florida, you can only bet online on the Hard Rock app. And our leader, AJ Johnson, does not like the app. Now, granted, he wins on it, but, because the state's in bed with the Indian tribes down there, they only allow Hard Rock because Hard Rock is associated with the Indian tribes. But the NFL does have its rules with gambling, and basically, if you're NFL personnel, no, not allowed to wager. Now, Kozar was pulled off a Browns pregame radio show in January 2023 for betting on the season finale against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which the team said was a violation of the NFL's gambling policy. Team employees are prohibited from placing bets. Now, the one thing I would argue here as I get to the next point here, I would have not only gone to the team, I would have contacted the NFL offices with the way that this wager was supposedly made, because it wasn't something that he did for profit. Because January 1st, 2023 was when Ohio got into the sportsbook gambling business. And one casino in Cincinnati, Pete Rose made his bet, the first bet, in Cincinnati area. Kosar was doing something similar with Cleveland. And Kosar said on his radio show that he bet $19,000 on the Browns and would be giving the winnings to charity. Now, the reason why he wore why it's 19,000 is because he wore number 19 with Cleveland. Now, the question I would have is, and maybe this was done, maybe it wasn't, wouldn't you want to check more than just your employer with the media employer for, hey, I'm doing this for ceremonial reasons, I'm not doing it for me. What can I do to keep my job? And also do this for my charity. Do I have to say, all right, do I need to send somebody in my foundation to represent me to say 19,000 on Cleveland for Bernie, even though you don't mention Bernie's name? There's ways around it, I would think, but I would think that you would want to double check, triple check everything to say, hey, this isn't a bet that I'm making profit on. This isn't something that I'm using personal knowledge of, insider information, if you want to use a stock term there. It's not about insider information. It's about doing something for charity because of the whole debut of sportsbook wagering. That's what it was all about. It wasn't about gambling illegally like some of the players have, or even that guy with the San Diego Padre organization that got kicked out of baseball. The intent was not to profit off of news and other stuff that he would know as a color commentator. He did it for charity, and he got screwed for it. But Kosar alleges that he was told he would have to personally place a $19,000 bet on the Browns to beat the Steelers, which is at odds with the contract. So this may turn into he said, she said here, but I'll tell you what, this has the potential of really being something that really could mess with everything here, because it wasn't, there was no intent, but the thing is, rules are rules, and you got to do what you got to do. But I would think, if because it was such a landmark event in the state of Ohio, I would think you would go to someone in the club, someone in the NFL, just to say, hey, I can't do this. I could put a $19,000 bet on something else, but I'm not going to do it on that. But now, according to the lawsuit, the agreement called for Kosar to place a wager on a sports betting app for a New Year's party charity event, and that Kosar would not be liable nor responsible for the amount of the wager, nor will be entitled to any winnings that may occur as a result of the wager. Okay, so who's providing the $19,000, or is this bet getting voided out right away when the media disappears from being right in front of Bernie Kosar? I mean, it's still, you can argue even with that, you cancel it, but you made the wager. But I would think that you would want to dot the I's, cross the T's, dot the J's even, just to make sure you won't get yourself into trouble. And guess what? It got him fired, and he wants retribution here in court, and rightfully so, if this is true. Now, the lawsuit also alleges Miles verbally assaulted and threatened Kosar, and claims there are multiple instances in which the contract was not honored. According to the lawsuit, Miles attempted to negotiate terms of the agreement in September 2023, and 2 weeks after Kosar declined, his contract was wrongfully terminated. And he's seeking more than $900,000 in damages. Did not immediately Miles did not, Orsler did not return a request for comment. So strange things going on there, but I'll tell you what. I think the one thing that the defense could say here is, well, did you check the NFL? Did you check the Browns? Did you work with the NFL and the Browns to say, hey, how can I do this as a charity thing and not necessarily it looks like I'm actually making the wager? It just seemed like that they set him up to get fired. Now, that may be the case, it may not be the case, There's probably a lot more than we're going to know, but um, you just have to realize that things happen. So, but one last story here, and it's the Joey Chestnut update. Um, as you know, he had a bitter feud with Kobayashi, and Kobayashi was kicked out of the Nathan's hot dog eating contest for whatever reason it was, I forget. But apparently, since Joey Chestnut is no longer going to be eating hot dogs on the 4th of July because he has that contract with a vegan company, um, he is going to be having a contest with Kobayashi on September 2nd. They'll face off in an all-beef hot dog battle on September 2nd. That's going to stream on Netflix. So Netflix, little by little, is getting into sports. You know, they got 2 games on Christmas with the NFL. They had that Alcaraz match in Vegas in March against Nadal. And I heard something on one of the podcasts I listened to, and I'm so far behind on my podcasts. You know, I'm talking about March. Apparently, Carlos Alcaraz went from Palm Desert, Palm Springs, wherever he was. He flew Southwest from wherever it was to Vegas. Now, Vegas is a major hub for Southwest, so it's probably, you know, let's get this real quick. Boom, you know. But, you know, I found that interesting when I was listening to that podcast here. But going back to this Joey Chestnut thing. Now, Kobayashi had announced his retirement from competitive eating due to health concerns just last month. He had won the Nathan's contest from 2001 to 2006, increasing his total of hot dogs and buns consumed from 50 to 63 in 2007 when Chestnut won his first title. Kobayashi said in a statement that retiring for me will only happen after I take him down one last time. So he's ready for battle. The rivalry's been brewing for a long time. Competing against Joey live on Netflix means all over the world can watch me knock him out. And Joey Chestnut said, through all my years of competitive eating, Kobayashi stands out as my fiercest rival. Competing against him pushed me to be so much better. I know that fans have waited a long time for another chapter of this rivalry, and I can't wait for our massive showdown live on Netflix. It's time to give the people what they want. So, but I guess this contract or this battle does not go against the against his new deal with the vegan hot dog Impossible Foods. I guess that doesn't happen, but maybe I have to watch it, even though I question, is competitive eating actually a sport or not, or is it just a major gluttony thing? But you know, we'll see. So I'm interested in this, kind of like how I'm interested in the Tyson fight, which has now been moved to November because he had an ulcer issue. But that's going to be it for now. Just want to remind you, my other show, Also Eligible, which is a horse racing show, we will be looking at races from Monmouth Park down in the Jersey Shore area. We're going to try to fit 4 races in an hour. We may be able to do it. So they have a big day at Monmouth Park. It's their Haskell preview day. They got 4 stakes races. Local horse Uncle Heavy, who ran in the Preakness, is supposed to run in one of the races at Monmouth, but he doesn't have a jockey, so it tells me he may be scratched. But the one thing I will tell you guys, tune in on Saturday. We'll have some horse racing banner with me and AJ Johnson. It's exclusively on the Bleacher Brothers platforms. So Bleacher Brothers, twitch.com/Bleacher Brothers, Bleacher Brothers without the S on X, at Bleacher Brothers on YouTube. You know what? Just go to bleacherbrothers.com, All the links are there. You can pick your favorite platform and you can interact with us Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. We'll look at those 4 races. We take about an hour. We may, who knows, we may run long since we aren't on online radio right now, but we are going to have some fun there. And if you follow Bleacher Brothers on Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook, wherever we shoot the show to, not shoot the shit, shoot the show to. Um, Even if you don't watch it live and you wake up and it's 12 Eastern, 9 Pacific, hey, Joe had that show. Let me see. Let me see if I can make some money here today. Something like that. Feel free to join us. It's every Saturday, 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, and we have some fun there. We get a little loose. We have some fun. We're talking about cigarettes and the British name for them, which I won't mention because the Phillies were playing in London. I had my Phillies jersey on, but um, it's a fun show. This show does go to the audio podcast. So for those that are watching after the fact, let's say you just got to drive in the car and you want to listen to me, subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Apple will be coming up soon. I think I need 5 episodes. I got to upload 2 or 3 of them yet. So, um, I give you all kinds of options to digest this show. So, and I do appreciate everybody for joining me. Matty Ice joining me tonight. Bank Boy joining me tonight. Everybody that's joining me on X. Um, we have fun here, and that's the goal here. And I even like when we have interaction in the chat room here. So, um, and we're working towards that 4th night when I pick up Wednesdays. Maybe middle of July, maybe August 1st. I'll let you guys know as well. So now, those that are on Twitch, I am going to do something here. Let's see here. We are going to raid Action Lab, I should say. So, do appreciate you guys, and they're going through the rookie draft here, head-to-head rookie draft. They must have a snake draft thing. It's baseball night there, so I'll send you over to them, and put in a good word for me. Hopefully, we'll get some of them to join me here as well, and I will catch you Monday night at 8 o'clock, or 9 o'clock, because the basketball game's on at 8. That's why I was thinking 8 o'clock. And let's have some fun out there. So, Action Labs will be where we're headed. Thank you for joining me. And everybody that's watching, no matter the platform, do appreciate you guys taking the time to watch and listen. Have a great night, everybody.